Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CX Goalkeeper podcast. Your host, Gregorio Leoni, will have smart discussion with expert, thought leader, and friends on customer experience, transformation, innovation, and leadership. I hope you will enjoy the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a big pleasure. On the CX Goalkeeper podcast, I can have a chat with Mark Hamill, the CEO of ARCET Global. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Greg. Great to be here. Very well, thanks.
Thank you very much for joining this discussion. I am really thrilled that you will share some insights also from the other side about all these awards, because there are quite a lot of awards on the market, in particular in the customer experience world. And I'm really happy to start this discussion with you. But before we start speaking about awards, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Mark Hamill, CEO of ARCET Global. I'm originally from Belfast, Northern Ireland, but I've lived abroad for many years. So I've lived in England, Scotland, in the Middle East, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and then also currently living in Hungary, where my wife is from. So just over the Austrian border.
Thank you, Mark. And perhaps also to understand a bit better where you're coming from, how were you able to start working in the customer experience field?
It's a good question. And I have to say that my entire career has been in customer experience in one form or another. So as soon as I graduated from university, so many years ago now, I worked for a customer service consultancy in Dubai. So as soon as I left university in the UK, got this great opportunity to work in Dubai. And it was very much about measurement. So mystery shopping, customer satisfaction surveys. They did training, mainly, let's say, customer service training. So it wasn't quite at the stage where we were all talking about customer experience, of course, but it was part of it. And then also did consultancy. They had standards on customer service. So that was my starting point, was really sales in that realm. And then as time went on, I learned more about the products themselves, started to do a bit of the delivery of programs, whether it be consultancy, some training, and then got involved with marketing. So I got a real breadth of knowledge when it came to customer experience. And then off the back of that, we started running events. So we ran I think it was UAE Customer Service Week. So, and it was always on the same day as what we're familiar with now as CX Day. So it was always on that day or that week as well. And then part of that was awards. So that's how I got into awards as well, and realized that was an important part of customer experience. And then had an opportunity to work with a gentleman from the UK in Dubai. We had a company which ran many different types of awards, not just customer experience awards, for 5 years. And then left that company and set up ARCET Global, which is the awards that we run today are through that company. And it wasn't just about the awards aspect of it, but also how we can help connect people within our network. So whether that be supporting them by finding specialists that can help them on their transformation journey, with training, and also people and culture. So it's a bit more, let's say, rounded than what I was previously doing in my previous company. But primarily it's about connecting people with information and helping them on their journey to improve.
Thank you very much, Mark. And ARCET Global is very well known in the awards field, but it's not only about awards. Could you please explain a bit where the name is coming from and what are you really doing at ARCET Global?
Yes, that's a good question. So ARCET Global, although we're doing a bit more than what the original name suggests, but ARCET means awards, recognition, consultancy, events, and training. So although we are known for awards, let's say the public awards in particular, we run internal awards for companies. So let's say challenges for their staff, for innovation, or just for general engagement to get good ideas from their employees. We do, as I said, match up specialists with companies that are on their journey to transformation. And in particular, culture is a big part of that at the moment. And everything that we've seen in the last year or so, I think, is moving towards people and culture, and how you keep people happy within the company, and how that impacts your customers. But then the talent management piece that we have as well, we do have a technology and suite of services that can support companies to better understand their teams that they already have, but also for recruitment purposes as well. So quite a broad range, but everything kind of fits in with that, let's say, transformation and people and culture, that apart from the awards piece.
Thank you, Mark. And I think this is exactly the question I would like to ask, elaborating on what you are saying. Transformation, cultural change, customer centricity. It's something that a lot of people discuss about, but it's hard work. And you have also in your company name the recognition piece that for me really stand out. You had also quite a lot of workshops, discussions, keynotes, speeches about recognition. Why does it make sense to participate to such awards that you are offering?
Well, I would suppose the thing that makes our recognition services or awards programs, whatever way you want to call them, quite different, is that it really does showcase what they are doing. So instead of, let's say, a traditional program, which is quite simply let's say, an entry form, and then no one gets their eyes on that to see what they're actually doing, and ours are quite different. So every company that participates, and you've seen it yourself, Greg, it's like they are in the public eye. So they are not just sitting at their desk writing an entry form and then you never see anything about them. They're really putting forward their case. They're filming a video, and not only the panel of judges, but other delegates that are attending the events, they can watch those presentations. So it's not just about recognition for their company, but for them on a personal basis. So I think it's something quite different. And also the feedback. Like, again, Greg, you write your comments or questions when you're scoring, and that does get relayed to them. So they're able to use that and learn from that and go forward. So it's not just the recognition, because I think when you think recognition, you almost think about winning only. I think we're all guilty of that. When you think recognition is just about the winning, but the way that we've got things set up, it's very much about being part of that journey and trying to learn and improve all the time, whether you win or not. So that's something I think that's really important when it comes to the customer experience as well, and especially which I'm sure many of the people that presented on your show before have talked about, like return on investment, for example. If you win an award at an international event and show that to your boss or to your leadership or whoever it may be, I think that does certainly add to the let's say the armor that you have in building your case. So I think it's an important part of that as well.
Well, what you're saying, it totally makes sense, and also fully transparent. I am judge at ARCET Global events, and I don't need to pay to participate. And I see that the level is increasing and increasing, because the entrants and the entries are really high qualitative and are also globally. It means come from all around the world, and also for us judges, it's really interesting to see what's happening around the world, and how different companies are tackling this transformation. But also to make that understandable for the audience, you can choose one event, perhaps the upcoming events. How is the process to participate, to apply, and at the end, how many people does participate to such big events?
Yeah, good question. So the next one that's available to enter now is the Customer Centricity World Series. So that's, as you might guess, available for companies from all over the world to participate. Last year, we had over 400 attendees. 300 companies applied, but only around 150, I think it was in the end, that went through the shortlisting process. And the process for the whole entry phase is simply register on the website for free. They would receive an entry form from our team, and then fill the entry form in, submit that. And if your company is successfully shortlisted, then you'd be invited to do the video presentation on the same case study or case studies, depending on how many categories. And at that point as well, you'd be invited to pay the $1,000, which is quite simply tickets for the event, the trophy if you win, your benchmark feedback report with all the comments from judges like Greg and many others from around the world. So it's all in one package, let's say. And then the event takes place in May next year.
Thank you, Mark. And perhaps could you also a bit explain how is the selection process or the judging process? And because you are also sharing on your webpage that it's extremely transparent. Here we are not speaking about an event. Please pay us so much and you will get the gold award. Yeah. If you subscribe our yearly fees, then you will get the silver and the diamond award. But it's really about a process, structured process that's transparent. And yes, you mentioned me as one of the judges. Rosaria Cirillo, for example, is also often judge at your events. It means you are also investing quite a lot of time finding the right judge. Could you please share a bit the process?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, we try and look for experienced judges only. I know that sounds obvious, but people that have industry experience or are very well-known customer experience professionals. One thing I would say, for example, for our European awards, we're very, very careful to try and get representation from all countries. So I think we achieved it. Our goal was to have representation from every European country with over 2 million people population. And I think we managed to achieve that this year. Unfortunately, that rules out my country, Northern Ireland, but I think we did have a Northern Irish judge as well. But yeah, so that's one thing as well. So we're not just trying to go after, let's say, typical awards markets, which in Europe would usually mean UK and Ireland and maybe Netherlands. So we do have quite a good representation. And then also what the scoring process is, quite simply, they would look at a case study. The case study that's submitted is looking at the planning phase. So who was involved and why did you decide to do this? Then the implementation. So again, who was involved in that implementation phase? How did you do it? And then the results, very important. So that's a really simple criteria that builds a case study, which could be used for them even internally when they're trying to describe what their projects they've been working on as well. So, and then the video that they would submit would be based on the same criteria. It's just really bringing that entry to life. So that's pretty much the process. And then again, one thing I missed is going back to the judge recruitment is we do try and have a mix of in company. So let's say practitioners, consultants, and then technology providers. So we are quite careful with that and to make sure that we do have a reasonable split. So it's not just, let's say, just consultants or just practitioners or just technology providers that are on every panel.
Thank you, Mark. And I think this shows pretty well the complexity around creating, organizing, and running such events. We are not speaking yet about hybrid events, digital or physical events, but for the next question, I would like to speak with Mark Hamill, the CX expert and not the CEO of ARCET Global, because I really want to give some value added to my audience. And if I ask this question, please really, without naming any company, but your view on that. There are a lot of awards on the market. You can participate, let's say, on a weekly basis to different awards. How can you find out which are the good awards that it makes sense to participate? What would you suggest to the audience?
Well, I think if you're getting, you hit the nail on the head earlier on. You said, you apply for our gold pass and then you're guaranteed to win or whatever it is. Those ones where you're guaranteed to win. I mean, there is a market for those, don't get me wrong, but it's a bit empty, I would say. So those are the ones I would run away from. You'll laugh because it's just ridiculous, but we won the best events company in Northern Ireland 3 months after we set up and before we even had an event, to give you an example. So I was contacted. Exactly, it was quite the achievement. It might have been a crystal ball moment, I'm not sure, but yeah, they reached out to me and I was like, we don't deserve this award. We haven't had an event. And they were like, no, just take it. It's fine. But it's not fine. We don't want it. And then about 2 or 3 days later, I received this like banner saying, ARCET Global, best events company in Northern Ireland. So things like that. I think it's just a case of if they're not willing to offer transparency, and then also one thing I've seen from awards, which friends, family, colleagues they've been involved in where they've judged, and obviously it's not going to be fair on them or the finalists, is when there's, let's say, a grand jury of, let's say, 5 to 10 judges, but there's hundreds of entries. There's no way anyone that's a busy person would have the time to read all of those or do them justice. So I think that's something, and it might not seem that obvious. They might be trying to do it right and trying to get this really, really good panel of judges, but let's be honest, there's no way that I personally, I'm sure you, Greg, like you wouldn't want to read 100 entries, and it's not possible, really. Not to do it justice anyway. You couldn't spend enough time. So that's one thing I would say, which isn't usually as obvious, but that's something to look out for. Because then when I see that, I know it's not going to be a fair process.
No, I fully agree with you. And with hundreds of entries, then it would be a full-time job for several months. And
exactly,
therefore,
yeah.
you need also enough time to prepare for that. But what you're sharing, I think it's makes totally sense. And now please take back your hat as CEO of ARCET Global. And now the question is also ARCET Global. What does ARCET Global do better than other competitors?
Good question. I think the thing that's at the very center of what we do, which we haven't really discussed it because it's not really a product, but it's our ability to build communities. We give away huge amount of content, and that content is on the basis of the amazing content that we receive through our awards. So all of the case studies we receive are available for free for anyone to go and watch, which is on our experience portal, as we call it. But also the webinars that we run, like Greg, you've been involved in those before, and they're all free to access. We have 3 to 5 of those available through, like next week, we've got one for Europe, we've got one for Middle East and Africa, and then we've got one for the Americas. And we get a panel of experts there. It's very open discussions, and it really does help a lot of people in terms of getting difficult questions answered, problems they're facing. And that community continues to grow. So I think that the community is our, let's say, critical mass of what we do really well. And the team that we have at ARCET Global have become specialists in doing that, like keeping people informed and offering them free content that can really help them in their business. And then I would say that's the thing that we do that's quite different.
As you are explaining that, and we had also that in the pre-discussion, it looks like that you have a lot of people working at ARCET Global. How many people are working with you, for you, including yourself?
It's a good question. So we have 6 full-time employees, and then we have a board of directors, which is 2 people. So a chairman and a non-executive director, and then we also have a specialist that works with us. He is part of our company, but very autonomous, let's say, based out of Dubai. So it's a small team really, but only until 2 months ago there were only 4 of us day to day. So it was we look much bigger than we really are, but we're very, very productive. I'd like to think so anyway.
It totally makes sense, and I think COVID added quite a lot of complexity also in the organization, because now awards are run not physical anymore, but it's hybrid. And perhaps what's your view on the future of awards now, really speaking about hybrid, in person or digital? What's your view on that?
I think certainly any of the conversations I have is people are saying they want to go back to physical events, but I don't see anyone really doing it so much. I think it will come back eventually, but there's still too many layers of complexity with whether that be companies not allowing their staff to go, and company policies, let's say, or even if it's not company policies, they'll not allow them to go. They're not willing to pay for their staff to go to physical events. You've got people that don't really want to travel. You've got people that are just too scared to go to events in general. So if you peel back every layer of that onion, what % is left? I'm not so sure. So the thing I see is more local events personally. And then any of the international events will be much smaller in scale. But I don't see how, as the events industry or that traditional events industry, which is like, let's say the big exhibitions, trade shows, I'm not really sure how they would commercialize that so much, because almost your costs are going to be pretty similar. If you're to put on the same sort of level of show, but yeah, you'll have a lot less people there. So the pricing will probably go up quite a bit for those type of events. For us, we're quite lucky, I suppose, because we've got such we should be a nice audience, CX professionals. And so I think we can almost get away with more informal and more local events. And that's the way I kind of see it for a lot of events companies out there, like that, trying to make it more about just reconnecting with people. So that's where I see it. And then of course, the virtual elements still remaining. So if there's content being provided from someone overseas, or let's say that's the core thread running through the program, and then anything either side of that is the networking in person. I think that's what we're going to see, but I just, not for the time being, I don't see big events. And people that we speak to, they're saying they would love to do the in-person event, but is anyone willing to pay? I don't think so. I don't think it's like the companies are willing to pay, let's say, just yet.
It totally makes sense. And if we speak in the customer experience language, it's also about convenience, because let's say today I can participate or I can speak with you and you're far, far away, and tomorrow I can be somewhere else. And with all the traveling, it's really the trade-off between networking, the real network, meeting people in person, compared to the convenience of sitting at home doing what we are doing, and also having the opportunity to participate to such events.
Absolutely.
That's really great. We spoke a bit about the future. It's digital, physical, a bit of both. What's your view in future around these awards? Because we see that they're popping up a lot of additional awards. Mm-hmm. Are we going into the direction of that consolidation, that at some point in time there will be defined events that are really the important one? Or what do you see? Because I am also seeing you are mentioning that your awards are growing, and for sure it totally makes sense and it's important. But at the end, there are not thousands or millions of companies that are best in class in customer experience. Mm-hmm. What's your view on the future of customer experience awards?
Well, let's say the most straightforward answer isn't just about customer experience awards, but awards in general. And there is absolutely zero loyalty in awards from what I've seen. It is not like your mobile phone provider where you get a contract and then that's it. It's not like that. It is companies who win awards, enter awards, and enter awards, and enter awards. It's very rare that you see, let's say, an airline. Every single one of them has IATA, Skytrax, blah, 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 whatever industry awards after it. So in theory, in a normal world or normal industry, I would agree with you, and consolidation would make a lot of sense. But as I said, probably 15, 20 minutes ago, it's very much, there's very much a market for those awards, those ones that you and I might not think are worth the paper they're written on or the crystal they're written on, but it's there's people who just want to win. So, and they might enter our type of awards, like the ones that are fair, or we hope are fair. So it's a strange industry, I would say. But what you definitely saw 100% was a lot of the physical events that were not really adding value, and they were pretty much wiped out when it came to, they didn't really, the way their process was, the way that they were set up, it was very much just, let's get a lot of people in for a dinner that we can charge them X $1,000 for, and give them a nice shiny trophy, have a few drinks, and then see you next year. That's gone. So there has been a consolidation, but there have been a lot of other ones popping up. I've seen, but for us, like we collaborate with other awards. We collaborate with even the DACH Customer Experience Awards, for example. So, and that is on the basis for Markus and us, for example, is we know that we can add value to one another from the companies that are involved. So, it is a different industry in that sense. It's really is almost zero loyalty. I'd say that there's zero loyalty in the sense that people are willing to shop around, but they do usually pick a favorite that they would stick with, but still very rare. It's just one per year.
Really interesting, and looking forward to see how the awards market will develop. Also valuing your time, we're going to the last part of this discussion, and I am asking always similar questions. The first one is there a book that you would suggest to the audience that you say it helped me during my career?
Yes, absolutely. So the one that I read last year, which I think is around last summer, I think it was, which is really just boils down leadership in general, which has really helped me for me, myself, personal development, but also probably my team's experience, is the Dichotomy of Leadership, from Jocko, Willink, and and that's just really, it's really specific to their time when they were serving in Iraq. And I know that makes it sound like it's very much, sort of, let's say very like one of the films you'd see about war, but it's really not. It's just about how you treat people, and that there are, when you're making difficult decisions, sometimes there's something that might be the right path to go down, might not be, and how to be measured. And I think it's just something that everyone should read. It's really simplifies things for anyone that reads it.
Thank you, Mark. And if somebody would like to contact you, what's the best way?
Well, either on LinkedIn. So I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So that's always something I'll get back to people on. Or my email address is just quite simply mark@arcetglobal.com. ARCET being ARCET.
Thank you very much. And if a company would like to apply to participate to an award, what's the best way?
Best way is probably to reach out to my colleague Laura, which is laura@arcetglobal.com. But alternatively, as I mentioned, the next one that's coming up is the Customer Centricity World Series, and that is customercentricityworldseries.com.
Thank you very much. And the last question, sorry for asking for many contact details.
That's the whole point of an interview, right?
In my audience, there are also a lot of CX professionals, and perhaps some of them would like also to apply as a judge. Mm-hmm. Is there a process? Is there an opportunity? Or what's the best way to get some insight also to apply as a judge? Absolutely,
yeah. Great question. So my colleague Jenny is the one that leads that. I'm sure, Greg, you've seen many emails from her in the past.
Yes.
So my colleague Jenny at ARCETglobal.com is the person in charge of the judge process and recruitment, everything A to Z, really. So you can reach out to her, or alternatively, if you would visit simply ARCETglobal.com and fill in the form there, then one of us will get back to you for more details. But we're definitely recruiting judges either for the World Series or for the European or North American awards.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I hope that Laura and Jenny will get some emails because it totally makes sense. And you explained pretty well why it makes sense to participate to awards, to get recognition, to have the opportunity to win, and to share also great stories. And now I would like also to ask the last question to you. That's Mark Golden Nugget. It's something that we discussed, or something new that you would leave to the audience.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just the people and culture element. I think that everything that we see is that it's drilling down into people and culture being the most important thing right now. There's a lot of questions that we're getting asked about this. We're seeing, I wouldn't say a flight from technical training in some ways. I think it's just given that people are returning to office and not returning to work. I think that someone corrected. I saw someone correct someone on that last week on a conference, but they're returning back to the office, and given all the changes that have happened, I think that focusing on your people, making sure that they're comfortable and happy in the role that they're doing, or finding them a more appropriate role that they're better suited for, is the thing that I can see over the next 6 months to a year is going to be the most important thing. So the soft skills rather than just technical skills. So that's where I see the next 6 months to a year going.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I'm not commenting your golden nugget because this was Mark golden nugget. The only thing that I can say is thank you very much, Mark, for your time. It was really a big pleasure to have you on the CX Goalkeeper podcast.
Brilliant. No, thanks, Greg, and thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And I hope also that the audience enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. I can only conclude saying thank you very much. Grazie mille. Arrivederci.
Thanks, everybody.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share the word of mouth. Subscribe it, share it. Until the next episode, please don't forget, we are not in a B2B or B2C business, we are in a human-to-human environment. Thank you!